Alrighty. So if you saw my video yesterday, I kind of went into what I was thinking going to happen, which was we would see a bounce off of this 0.618 fib level, which it actually did quite nicely. And so here you see in this parallel channel, this is our general downtrend, and we have this top resistance here, which is pretty much the make it or break it resistance. If we can break this, that really officially signals that we're done this bear market. So the real question is, when is that going to happen? When are we going to try and break that resistance again? So after we hit 6K, I labeled out the Elliott waves here. We have a solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then inside of each one of these, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. So then we want to label this. And so yesterday I went through all of the possibilities for us labeling it, and I guess the one that I concluded on after we saw that we did in fact bounce off of this, is that we have a double Elliott wave combo correction. So we have this A, B, C, and then we had a failed impulse wave. And so that failed impulse wave took us to here with this X, and then the Y is down here, and inside the X to Y length, we see another A, B, C. So here, I believe we've started our next, mode of wave. And so I think that here we have a 1, and then we're going to see our 3 here, and then hopefully our 5th wave will break out. I think that it's entirely possible that we'll see this 3rd wave try it. If not, maybe our 5th wave will try it and break out. Who knows? It's hard to say exactly, but I think that this looks like a pretty nice way for the Elliott waves to play out, coming down and bouncing off of this 786 before making a full breakout. So anyway, if we go in and we zoom in a little bit more here, we can see kind of exactly why this looks so good as far as our next Elliott waves, in that we can actually label these. Now it's kind of sloppy, but it is a shorter time frame. I understand there's some overlap here, but it's actually just in the wicks. And in leverage markets, that's fine. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have to make sure that this 3rd wave is not the shortest, right? So if our first wave is this long, that's $413. This wave is 515, right? So that's fine. As long as we're longer than 1, we're good. So this is a valid Elliott wave count. And so then we have to have a correction after that, and that one's pretty clear to see. This is very clean. 1, 2, 3, and ABC, right? And this is actually really nice that we actually came up, and this was our downtrend. This was the trend, and then we came down, we broke out, and then we retested it twice, showing that we're done with this. This is a pretty strong support now. So now we're off on our second, our second motive wave, our 3rd wave in the Elliott wave pattern. And so inside of this, we'll probably see 3 more. And so who knows where this will end. But as far as a target, if we didn't all the way hit this, I like the idea of hitting this top trend resistance. But if we're looking for a realistic target, we can draw our fib retracement. And so maybe we'll see it just fall in between the 1 and the 1.618, somewhere in this area. But depending on how bullish we are, I think that we might actually go a little bit further, because there's nothing to say that that's not allowed. So yeah, and then if that happens, maybe we'll see. We want to take a retracement of the whole thing. Oops, let's stay there. Take a retracement of the whole thing. Maybe we'll see the 5 retrace back down to here, and then off we go, whatever. So yeah, that is pretty much my thoughts on where we are now in Bitcoin. And really, this is an extremely important area as far as the future of the whole thing goes, because if we're strongly rejected by this again, I find it unlikely that we test it without at least making a stronger break down towards the bottom of this trend support, which could, you might have heard people calling these 4K targets. That's why. Um, Now other people would say, we'll just bounce off of this bottom at 6K. Who knows? It could do any number of things if it gets rejected by this again. But I've been very bullish recently, just by seeing how everything's been going. So I think that everything will turn out fine here, and that we will break out. But that is my Bitcoin analysis for you. I'll stay here a little bit and answer any questions you guys have. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll give a minute or two. Well, okay, so as far as putting new fiat in, I would wait till we see a solid breakout of this resistance before you buy in. Because, we haven't confirmed that we are going to bounce off of this, So, or we haven't confirmed that we're going to break out, right? And so you don't want to just play off of what might happen. You only want to execute trades off of confirmations, right? And so you want to see a confirmation of a breakout of this trend. And so that probably means that you set your buy orders for a little bit above 12K, because it's entirely possible that some market makers have a little stop run to a little bull trap to hit everyone's orders and then short it down into oblivion. So yeah, that's that question. Let's see, if it retraces a lot more, at what point would we want to set a stop losses to exit to fiat? That's a great question, and my answer to that would be if we see if you see it break down below 8,900, I would say that would be a great place to put a stop loss, because then I think there's a good chance that we break down a lot further. And the reason I say that is because there is a vague chance. I haven't really thought about it too much. That this is some like double combo wave. I haven't really thought about it, given that we broke out here. But I mean, there's some vague chance that it doesn't play out how I expect. Obviously, there's always a vague chance. But yeah, I'd say that a great place to have your stop losses if it breaks down below significantly 8,900. Let's see. My concern is that we need new money entering the space again, but because of the pot, people aren't interested anymore. Do you think, in light of that, we're still actually bullish? That's a great question, and I think that a lot of the new money is waiting to enter the space for after they see some kind of confirmation of us being bullish. And there actually is still, there's still a shitload of money in the space. There's a lot of money in the space. And more money is getting put into it every day. As much as I dislike it, Robinhood is starting to allow trading just now, so that should allow a bunch of money. And then once people in the U.S. start getting the tax returns back, in the past that's played a big role in Bitcoin bull runs. So I think there's a lot of factors that we haven't really looked into yet that will add more money to the market. And honestly, it doesn't take that much money to bring it from here to a breakout. And I think that if we see a breakout, all the news agencies, everyone's going to be all of a sudden bullish on social media, and game over. That's when we start going off to the moon again. the target for wave 2 bottom, I think that we hit the bottom. The target for the wave 2 bottom was I originally thought it was here. I actually opened a long at around 10,000, but it dropped a little bit more. But I didn't really get stopped out because I had my stop loss set for over here at 9,500, and it actually just kind of bounced off of this again. So I mean, this was the bottom of our wave 2, and so now we've started our wave 3 right here. And then as far as the huge inverse head and shoulders go, I think that by the huge inverse head and shoulders, you're talking about like this bullshit that people keep saying. I don't buy that for a second. I think that that's just a load of bullshit. You can find head and shoulders anywhere you look. Like it's a pretty easy pattern to spot, and because it's an easy pattern to spot, I trust it less. And people do think they're like, yeah, so the target of the head and shoulder is a 1-to-1 of the distance from the top of the head to the neckline. And there's so many, like, just saying that like this is how far up we'll go after we break out from this. I mean, that's such a naive thing to say. Like if just saying like, yeah, if we break out past this, like my target's here. It's such a naive and stupid thing to assume and say. I don't understand. Like, maybe there's some substance to it being a head and shoulders, but I don't like the way the volume has been playing out, because the volume should technically on a head and shoulders be highest on this shoulder and then decrease, but it's actually pretty much done the opposite, where we've seen this is one of the lowest volumes, this is the highest volume. So I just don't think that there's any substance to the head and shoulders. So that is my opinion. So yeah, I think that answers all the questions that were in the chat. So thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube to Captain Coinergy. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't already, at Captain Coinergy. I'll be trying to do more of these videos because I think a lot of the people who are trying to learn how to do this themselves, this benefits them a lot. And I think it can make my TA a lot more clear if I can explain it in person rather than putting a million of these text bubbles everywhere. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all in my next video.